All right, today we're tackling a true cinematic giant. We're talking about Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, the film that didn't just dominate the conversation, it completely swept the award season by telling the story of the man who changed our world forever.
So let's dive right in with the man himself, J. Robert Oppenheimer. His life story is one of the most brilliant, contradictory, and, well, consequential of the entire 20th century. And Nolan doesn't just show you his life, he tries to put you right inside his turbulent, racing mind.
And this quote, wow. These are the famous, chilling words he recalled when he saw that first atomic detonation. They echo through the entire movie, a haunting summary of a man whose greatest achievement became his greatest burden.
And believe me, the world absolutely took notice. This film wasn't just a critical darling, winning 7 Oscars, including Best Picture. It was a commercial powerhouse, pulling in a massive net profit of over $201 million.
But to really get what Nolan is doing here, you have to understand how he tells the story. See, it's not a straight line, not at all. He fractures the timeline into 2 totally distinct perspectives that are constantly weaving in and out of each other, forcing us to see the same man from 2 very different angles.
He uses this really clever visual metaphor to structure the whole thing. One timeline he calls fission. That's Oppenheimer's personal story, told from his point of view, all in vibrant, subjective color. The other is fusion. That's the colder, more objective story of his security hearing, shot in stark black and white and centered on his rival, Lewis Strauss.
So let's rewind a bit. Let's go back to his early years and see how this incredibly brilliant, but also deeply troubled guy went from being a quantum physics student to leading America's most secret and arguably most important wartime project.
And the film, man, it just moves at a lightning pace right from the start. It quickly lays out the key pillars of his life. You've got his academic genius, his incredibly complicated and messy personal life with Gene Tatlock and his wife Kitty, and then boom, the fateful moment he gets recruited by General Leslie Groves.
A line like this perfectly shows you the movie's unique style. The dialogue doesn't always sound like how people really talk. Instead, Nolan has his characters say things in this very direct, powerful way to get information across. It makes it feel less like you're just watching a movie and more like you're watching a historical play unfold right in front of you.
And all of this builds up to the absolute centerpiece of the film, the race against time, out in the middle of the New Mexico desert, to build and test the world's very first atomic bomb.
This is really the moment he steps into the role, the man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. And to show the weight of that creation, Nolan did something pretty wild. He famously insisted on using practical effects for the Trinity Test. That means no CGI. He literally detonated a real, controlled, but massive explosion to capture that raw awe and terror.
And then, it works. There's this blinding flash of light, and then this deeply unsettling, deafening silence. In that single moment, a power the world has never seen before is unleashed, and the course of history, of warfare, of our very existence, it's changed forever. But right here, in this moment of triumph, the film makes its most debated choice. You see, Nolan keeps the camera locked on the creators, on their awe, their shock, their subsequent guilt. He intentionally never shows us the horrifying reality for the victims on the ground in Japan.
So yeah, the film doesn't show you the bombings, but the human cost was just staggering. We're talking an estimated 140,000 people dead in Hiroshima and another 74,000 in Nagasaki by the end of 1945 alone. And it's this unseen horror that you know is just eating away at Oppenheimer for the rest of his life. So the war ends. You'd think the celebrated father of the atomic bomb would be this untouchable American hero, right? Well, not exactly. In fact, he found himself on a collision course with the very same government he just helped win the war. And his main enemy, his chief antagonist, was this guy, Lewis Strauss, a really powerful and frankly vindictive government official. See, Strauss looked at Oppenheimer's post-war calls for nuclear control, his strong opposition to the even bigger H-bomb, and all those past communist ties, and he saw a threat, a big one.
So Strauss engineers this security hearing that was never really about finding the truth. It was a kangaroo court designed to do one thing: destroy Oppenheimer's reputation. And it worked. They stripped him of his security clearance, effectively silencing him and turning him into this public martyr, a really famous victim of that whole McCarthy-era paranoia.
So at the end of it all, where does the film leave us? Well, it definitely doesn't give you any easy answers about this man's incredibly complicated, contradictory legacy.
The film just refuses to pin him down. Was he a savior who ended the deadliest war in history? Or was he a destroyer who opened Pandora's box? A national hero or a monster? The film's argument seems to be he was somehow all of those things at once.
He basically lived in this state that physicists like him called complementarity. It's a wild idea from quantum physics that says two things that seem to completely contradict each other can both be true at the exact same time. And that was Oppenheimer. He was a hero and a security risk. His bomb was a weapon of mass death and a potential way to end all war. It's a paradox.
And that brings us to the film's final scene, and man, is it haunting. It's just a quiet conversation with Albert Einstein, where Oppenheimer reveals his deepest, darkest fear, that the Trinity Test didn't just set off one explosion. He's terrified that he started a chain reaction that will one day destroy the entire world.
And that's the absolutely terrifying, unresolved question the film just leaves hanging in the air. Oppenheimer started a chain reaction that he couldn't control. And when you think about it, in a world still packed with thousands of nuclear weapons, the film forces us to ask a really, really unsettling question. Has that chain reaction ever truly stopped?